makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part.
Today's video will be about my favorite part of the world, Latin America, specifically El Salvador, where its right-wing populist president, Nayib Bukele, has announced to much fanfare that he is going to create the world's first Bitcoin city. You heard that right. Please stop laughing. The very first Bitcoin city, which will be essentially a tech libertarian paradise. And I'm going to first explain a bit about Bitcoin City itself, but also why it's related to other similar kind of libertarian utopias that have been proposed in Central America, which is one of the poorest parts of Latin America, poorest and with a lot of really serious social and political issues like crime. So let's read about Bitcoin City. So yeah, Bitcoin City, and they also want to raise 1 billion via a Bitcoin bond. As you probably know, El Salvador recently, a couple of months ago, I forget exactly what month, I think it was around May-ish, sometime during the summer, that they announced that Bitcoin was going to be legal tender in El Salvador. Now, El Salvador is a country that is dollarized, that is, they use the US dollar as its main currency. The point of this was to be able to combat inflation. So they established the dollar to have some sort of monetary stability, and now they've added Bitcoin as the other legal tender in the country. And yeah, the city will be built next to a volcano. I know this is going to sound very James Bond villain-ish, but the whole point is that the city will be powered with thermal energy from the volcano. That part I'm fine with. Anything that boosts the development of thermal energy, especially in Latin America, because big parts of Latin America are in volcano areas. And so this is really a massively untapped resource, especially in countries like El Salvador that otherwise don't have many energy resources. There's not much oil in this part of the region. So, you know, if you want to move away anyway from both using oil as well as having to import oil, yeah, we should be developing these kinds of industries. So that's the only part that I agree with. But the purpose of why it's using thermal energy is not what I'm agreeing with. So yeah, the city will have residential and commercial areas, services, entertainment, restaurants, and an airport. And they're only gonna charge one tax, which is a value-added tax. But it's not gonna have income tax. It's not gonna have capital gains tax. So um, it's essentially this libertarian idea of having, the model of this was China. So China, when it started opening up its economy, it decided to create special economic zones in certain key cities around like the Pearl River Delta, things like that. And those cities had certain advantages that allowed them to compete. So the idea of these special economic zones is that, well, if you are in a country that doesn't have particularly strong rule of law, widespread corruption, etc., well, why don't we just build a new city that is governed kind of by its own laws, essentially laws set by the businesses that are established there. And we don't charge taxes to incentivize more companies to come here. And we only use the state for, for security and the legal system. And even then, I'm sure most of it will have like private security. So that was the idea of the special economic zones. And they were promoted by an economist who aside from this bad idea, I generally respect, Paul Romer, who won a Nobel Prize a couple of years ago. And some of his writing actually inspired my undergrad thesis. So, but this is a case of one big miss from him. But anyway, that is the essence of Bitcoin City. It's essentially the same thing, a special economic zone that's not governed by the laws of the country that it's located in. Instead, it has its own systems of governance And in this case, the only original thing is that it's basically runs on Bitcoin. Now, here is, so this is the location of, that's El Salvador. The location will be here. That's the volcano. And so I guess the city is going to be somewhere around here. And I found it curious, the location, because this part is known as the Gulf of Fonseca, where 3 Central American countries have very close borders. And this is also a region that Honduras, for the last couple of years, has also been planning. Not a Bitcoin city, but a special economic zone. And one of the proposed areas of this was right here. So I wonder if there's also some degree of competition that El Salvador wants against its neighbor. And the Honduras proposal, I remember this from many years back. I actually covered Honduras and El Salvador when I was working for the Economist Intelligence Unit. And I was covering Honduras when the special economic zones were proposed. So this is an idea that's been dragging on for many years. They still haven't, I think they still haven't started building it, or if they have, it's just been recently. And like I said, Paul Romer was originally involved in these. He later left the project. But these are all basically like libertarian utopias. Now, the question is, do people want this? And the answer is, I'm not sure. So Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, who is a right-wing populist, is incredibly popular. He is probably the most popular president in Latin America right now, and probably among the most popular in the world. But this Bitcoin thing, well, there's been a lot of objections to it. So there were protests a while back, because let's be honest, there's just no there's no immediate way in which adding Bitcoin as legal tender benefits most poor Salvadorians. It just doesn't. So yeah, this is, I'm not sure, even people who support Bukele, there might be some who support him, but probably aren't as thrilled over his Bitcoin obsession. Now, I repeat, Bukele is an authoritarian. Like, there's just no way around it. He was, now's the time I give a little history of Bukele. Bukele was originally the mayor of San Salvador, and he's a former businessman as well. And whenever you have a businessman turned politicians, that should raise some red flags. But people were really sick of the system in El Salvador, which was essentially a battle between the Frente Farabundo Martí de Liberación Nacional, which they were essentially a guerrilla group in the 80s that also fought against, a leftist guerrilla group that fought against right-wing militias during the El Salvadorian Civil War, which was incredibly violent, probably the most violent civil war in Central America. Worse, I would say, than Nicaragua's. And they later established themselves as a political party, and they've essentially been sharing power with Arena, which is like the right-wing establishment party. And there's a couple of other parties that have, there's one called Ghana, which was sort of also right-wing, but not as big as Arena. And Bukele had a movement, but he didn't have a party, so he was invited to run on the platform of Ghana. And he won. After that, he sort of, broke off from Ghana, started behaving with very strong authoritarian tendencies. Now, the thing about El Salvador that you have to know is that their legislative elections happen a year after the presidential ones. So the first year of the presidency in El Salvador, you still have the previous legislature, which meant that Bukele did not have legislative power in El Salvador during that first year. So what did he do during this first year? Well, he did exactly what you would expect a little millennial fascist to do. He when he was proposing a controversial crime bill, he sent troops inside the legislature to intimidate legislators legislators into passing it. Can you imagine that? I mean, this literally would be like Trump sending the U.S. Army into Congress if they didn't back one of his bills. That's really what would be the case. So now people saw this. You know, El Salvador is one of the most crime-ridden countries in the world. And people saw this as like, this is the first guy who has the balls to pass these bills and to be tough on crime. They were sick of sort of the establishment politics between the same two parties. And so his popularity was huge, and his movement eventually became a party, and he won the legislative elections earlier this year in a landslide. And then, well, you gave a man with a lust of power more power. So what did he do with this? Well, here was a political crisis that erupted a couple of months ago because he did not like the Supreme Court and he did not like his Attorney General. So he had the legislature essentially remove them. And, you know, this sparked a big political crisis. But those are his tendencies. Those are his tendencies. He, for a time, he had on his Twitter bio, dictator of El Salvador, unironically. Now it's CEO of El Salvador, which, yeah, this guy is exactly what Elon Musk would be if he was the president of a country, Nayib Bukele. And yeah, so there we go. Oh, he's also called himself the world's coolest dictator. So yeah, millennial Hitler in action. His Twitter bio, like I said, now says CEO of El Salvador, and this is the actual president of a nation on Earth. Okay, he wears a metaverse avatar. This is sad. This is really fucking sad. But that's why all the tech bros and crypto idiots love him. If you've noticed over the past couple of months, like a shitload of Bitcoin Twitter fanboys have the El Salvador flag on their profile. This is literally like, you know, Twitter leftist having the Palestinian flag, or tankies having like the North Korean and Vietnamese flags. They put the Salvadorian flag to show their allegiance to this Bitcoin utopia. And well, I just want to show. So the announcement of Bitcoin City was made in this week-long festival in the beach in El Salvador. It's called Bitcoin Week. It's basically I'm going to show a video of it because this is like Fire Festival, the El Salvadorian version of Fire Festival. Yeah, it's really sad. Feel the beat, not the beat.
De esta manera fue recibido el presidente Nayib Bukele en la clausura del Bitcoin Week, llamado Feel the Beat, llevado a cabo en la playa Misata de la Libertad.
The video wants to show it like it's like a massive festival, but if you look closely, it's really tiny.
El Salvador pasó a la historia como el primer país del mundo en establecer el Bitcoin como moneda de curso legal. Y el jefe de Estado anunció que también será el primero en tener una Bitcoin City que será construida en el municipio de Conchagua en la Unión.
So the city is going to be totally circle except for the...
And he gave it in
La
English.
ciudad será totalmente circular, salvo el volcán. Y en el centro hay una gran plaza.
You can tell
Y
what
desde el aire
audience
se percibe
this is
que
for.
es la señal de Bitcoin.
It's not for El Salvador. It's not for
Tendremos
poor
todo.
Salvadorians at
Reglamentos,
all.
políticas económicas, zonas digitales. Su ubicación estratégica en el Golfo de Fonseca, que es compartido entre Honduras, Nicaragua y El Salvador.
Esta
Yeah.
iniciativa convertirá a El Salvador en el centro financiero del mundo, o en otras palabras, en el Singapur de América Latina.
So I should add, this is like the official press secretariat of El Salvador, and they just said this will turn in El Salvador into the world's financial center, the Singapore of Latin America. Okay, yeah, right. Yeah, and I just wanted to show this bit here because this is the bit about taxes. Yeah, no income tax, no capital gain tax, no property tax, no payroll tax, no municipal taxes, and apparently no CO2 emissions. That remains to be seen, of course. So yeah, and I just want to show another video of this. This is his entrance to the event. Was AC/DC consulted over using their song for this charade? I really wonder. I hope there's a lawsuit coming. I should add, if they did agree, I will have lost all respect for AC/DC. So I love how these dumbasses just channel their wannabe Mark Zuckerbergs and Elon Musk. This is really something that I think Mark Zuckerberg would love to pull off, except he's so fucking socially awkward and has like zero ability for any kind of interpersonal skills to do this. Elon Musk could pull it off, of course, and I think that is exactly what a Elon Musk presidency would look like if it ever happened, God forbid. Also, if you look closely at these previous videos, there's very few dark-skinned people. So, yeah, this is clearly tailored for the international investor crowd, foreign crypto bro types, and of course the Salvadorian white elite. So, yeah, this is really pathetic, and I've actually seen some of the news coverage in the US media, and there's just no criticism of this at all. There's just no like oh cool, let's see what happens, you know, good luck. And yeah, just completely decontextualized from the country's really serious problems with development and crime and all these other things, and the fact that this will not solve them in any conceivable way, for the same reason that the special economic zones in Honduras also won't. What you're basically doing is just carving out a tiny piece of your country for very rich people and foreign investors to continue profiting and keep the profits that are made there. Because as you can tell, since there's no taxes being levied, none of this is going to really be, you know, aside from VAT, none of this is going to be redistributed. So what's the whole point? How does this help development? The answer is it doesn't. But I don't expect much from Millennial Hitler. So on that note, yeah, this is just very cringe, very, very cringe. And 2, it's going to fail. It is going to fail. So on that note, if you like this video, please like, please share. Most importantly, please subscribe, and please don't invest in Bitcoin City. There's so many other needs that this country has. Bitcoin City is not one of them. I'll see you next time.